qualifying patients with debilitating medical conditions to obtain an allowable amount of marijuana to treat or alleviate medical conditions. Establishes a regulatory scheme governed by the Arizona Department of Health Services for establishing and licensing medical marijuana dispensaries and personnel. And you can see here the yes language, and I'll just let Andrew go ahead. He is the proponent for tonight, and then we'll have the opponent come up. So, Andrew, you have 2 minutes, and introduce yourself.
Thank you. My name is Andrew Myers, and I'm the campaign manager for Proposition 203, the Arizona Medical Marijuana Act. Proposition 203 is about protecting certain seriously and terminally ill patients with a very narrow and specific set of medical conditions from arrest and prosecution. Right now, there are already thousands of Arizonans all across the state who are using marijuana with their doctor's recommendation, and these patients face a terrible choice. They either must continue to suffer the severe and debilitating symptoms from a serious or even terminal disease, or they have to go to the criminal market, putting themselves and, in many cases, their family members at risk for felony prosecution. Arizona is unique in that possession of any amount of marijuana can be prosecuted as a felony. And the risks don't stop with arrest. On the streets, patients must deal with criminals to acquire an unknown product, which may contain molds or pesticides or be laced with other drugs. And unfortunately, in Arizona, much of the marijuana supplied to the criminal market comes from Mexican drug cartels. So under current law, these patients are unwittingly lining the pockets of some of the world's worst criminals. And my opponent is about to try and scare the bejesus out of you using outdated reefer madness-style propaganda. He'll try his best to convince you that marijuana is not medicine, that all that I'm trying to do is make it easier for kids to use drugs. Nothing could be farther from the truth. The reality is that our proposal is the most restrictive and well-regulated marijuana proposal ever put forward. We've learned from other states' mistakes. For some patients, marijuana is not only good medicine, it's the best medicine. There have been literally dozens of peer-reviewed university studies in the last 10 years regarding the safety and efficacy of marijuana. Specifically, neuropathy, pain from nerve damage, is a particularly insidious type of pain that is exceptionally difficult to treat with traditional pain management methods. 2 studies in 2007 and 2008, conducted by the University of California at San Francisco, found that most neuropathy patients who added marijuana to their already existing pain regimen were able to reduce their dependence on narcotic painkillers like OxyContin by 2/3 or more. That is a fantastic improvement in quality of life, not to mention life expectancy for these patients. Patients should not be prosecuted for following their doctor's advice. A vote for Prop 203 is a vote for patients' rights. If you have any other questions, please come to me after the presentation. I'll be around to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and now we'll hear from the opposition. Oh, there he is. I was looking at the wrong proposition opposition. Thank you. I believe you push the button, and it turns red.
I think it's on.
Oh, is it
red?
Good job, babe.
I'm Dr. Ed Goga. I'm an addiction psychiatrist. I work with drug addicts for a living. And I want to tell you, this proposition is totally dishonest. It is not about the seriously ill, despite what the Marijuana Policy Project keeps trying to convince us. And I can prove it very simply. This exact same law passed in Montana. In Montana, 3% of the medical marijuana patients have serious illness. The other 97% do not. In California, 2% have serious illness. The other 98% do not. This is all documented on my website, stop203.com. You can find the exact sources with the Justice Department telling you this. And what happens with this is that in California, 75% of the medical marijuana patients are under age 40, 12% are teenagers. Despite what he says, it does encourage teenage drug use. In Montana, almost everybody has a claim of pain, and that pain can be anything. One woman got marijuana because her high heels hurt. And the reason they can get away with this is doctors are supposed to screen out drug addicts. They put something special into this law that allows any doctor to set up a practice where he sees patients for 5 minutes, sees 100 patients a day, never sees them again, and prescribes marijuana. And totally unethical doctors will do this. If you go to my website, you'll see the signs of the doctors in California doing this. It would be illegal with any other drug, but they've made it legal with marijuana. Real doctors do not prescribe marijuana, or at a very tiny rate. Almost all of it is prescribed by these pot doctors. And as a doctor, I hate seeing that. Medical marijuana is really bad for kids. The states with these laws have much higher rates of teenage drug use, much higher rates of marijuana use. They're the top states are all medical marijuana states. Teenagers who smoke pot do worse in school, they drop out more often, they earn less as adults. It is terrible. And it also kills more people on highways. Medical marijuana is just as deadly behind the wheel as alcohol is. And in California, their deaths caused by marijuana doubled when they passed this law. There's no reason for this. It is not about medical care. The only reason these people want us to pass this law that will kill innocent people on the highways, destroy young people's lives, is just basically so a bunch of selfish potheads can get high. Nobody, I mean nobody, should vote for this law.
Thank you very much. And do we have any comments or questions from the audience? Yes?
This is a scam from the get-go. There is no medical reason to have marijuana. All the things that marijuana supposedly does are available in medicines that are controlled in the dosage and all the side effects and all the other things. This just sets up a whole scheme that almost gets outside of law enforcement to dispense marijuana that whoever can convince a doctor that they should have it. And as he says, there's no standards in here for the doctors to prescribe it. So vote no on this, please.
Anybody else? Yes?
I have a comment that, in my opinion, this issue of whether this should be a medical marijuana or another, I mean, medicines are prescribed and abused daily in this nation by some of our finest representatives. And, just because to add something else to a possibility of this society worries me a bit. Alcohol is legal too, but 8, 9 times out of 10, somebody coming into my emergency room where I might be working, it's alcohol related, whether it be the woman that fell down the stairs or something like that. So to add another possible accessibility to something that could be abused by our society, I'd vote against that.
Anybody have? Yes?
The only thing that I wanted to say was I don't agree with legalizing marijuana. However, I do want to say that as having a family member, having a son who deals with chronic pain on a daily basis and isn't getting the kind of relief he needs, I think that it's very difficult for people that are suffering like that. And I just want to state that there are people out there that are really hurting and aren't getting relief. So I'm not totally convinced that there isn't some legitimacy to trying to seek pain relief. However, I personally can't condone the use of marijuana for that treatment. But also it's very difficult to see your loved one suffer.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes?
I just have a comment. I didn't have an opinion one way or the other until just a minute ago, but if it was legal, we could tax it. And I'm just saying, that might work.
Okay, thank you. We're getting a lot of participation on this money.
It wasn't going to say anything, but I'm sad.
No, that was.
She said, I couldn't hear her. She said if it was legal, you could tax it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Did you get that? If it was legal, you could tax it. Okay.
I was just curious. I mean, you have opiates that come through various pharmaceutical companies that get processed into prescribed drugs. At the same time, you have heroin, which is the illegal version of the exact same opiate. If THC has these great medicinal powers for neuropathy or anything else, where is Libby, where is all the other pharmaceutical companies trying to capture that particular, whatever it is that causes that relief, to bring it out through a legal pharmaceutical means? In doing so, then you could tax it, you could do a number of other things to it, and by putting it into the pharmaceutical companies for research, then you're going to come through the FDA on how this is going to be introduced into our society.
I can see that Andrew wanted to actually say something about that.
Yeah.
I'm actually wondering, can you move on because
Okay.
Sure. I mean,
this could go on.
I'll answer your question afterwards.
yeah,
And then,
it really wasn't, I don't want to get into a debate.
Yeah.
It's just a comment like
Yeah.
everybody else
Okay,
is in here.
comment. Thank you very much, and you guys can follow up with that afterwards if you'd like.